Many thanks to my awesome patrons and fine tool partners. If you're looking for some free stuff and want some early access, consider becoming a patron today.
Please be sure and click that subscribe button. Don't forget that crap. Shut up! Hardware install and lacquer spray. Stay with me. Boom! That's right, we've come to the point where it's time for the PRECAT lacquer and staining. But before we do any of that, we have to install the hardware so all of the holes are laid out and we don't screw up the finish afterwards. So if this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Please do not forget to click that subscribe button if you like videos like this. Also, don't forget that notification bell and it'll tell you anytime I upload brand new content. Attaching the hardware can be a little tricky, especially if you've never done it before. If you're doing this by eye, you can run into some problems because, especially if you have two doors that are meeting one another and your hardware isn't installed properly, you're going to have a gap from top or bottom. So you have to make sure that your hardware is nice, straight, and consistent all the way across the top of the door. You also have to accommodate for things that keep the door from popping off of the rail, such as these little bump stops. So let me show you how I install them that makes it a lot easier and quicker without hardly any guesswork. So a lot of the things that I like to use to mount this J-Runner hardware is a simple little jig that measures the distance between the top of the door and the bottom of the roller, minus the groove that the plate actually sits in. I actually accommodate for that excess distance that I'm not going to use. Now you can make a jig that is thin enough that can go up inside the groove of this roller, and that's fine. My jig itself is 2 inches wide and has a little piece right here that allows it to sit on the lip of the door, and I can adjust it anywhere I want and then just clamp it in place. There we go. Now with that secure, I have it extending pretty much the entire width of this door. Now this door is a little narrower, so I might make another one later on that's a little bit longer so I can put it anywhere along the door that I want and not have to worry about it being too short. But because it accommodates this bump stop, which actually sits on top of the door, and then the rail right above it with about a 1/4 inch clearance to keep it from popping off the rail. Another thing I have done is I've taken a piece of wood and clamped it in place underneath the door, so whenever I go to drill the holes through, I don't get any blowout on the back side from the drill bit. So now all I have to do is take the J-roller, put it right on the piece of wood, bump it up, and it will give me that automatic amount that I need to accommodate. You can eyeball it on the style itself, and then I can either use my jig, because I know it's square, and bump it up right up against the hardware, or you can put it on the other side and register it off the door. And just take you a clamp, and you'll probably have to clamp it over your blowout block and the hardware itself, and just put it in the center of the hardware closer to the bottom hole, and then clamp it down. Then to keep it from twisting, do the same thing above the top hole, and before you drill these out, make sure that you are still square, which I know I did just now, with your hardware and your door. Also make sure that the roller is touching your jig that you have clamped in place. This one is. So the drill bits that I use are a 3/8 inch wide diameter that I use to make the starter hole. That is the same size pretty much as the hole in the hardware, but it's definitely the same size as the bolt. One of the downsides about using the same size as the bolt is it gives you no leeway for adjustment. Even though we are using a jig to properly set this, sometimes manufacturers have an inconsistency amongst their hardware. I've learned this the hard way. So I enlarge the hole to a 31/64 after I pull the hardware off to make the hole slightly bigger. That way I can have some adjustment in case my doors don't quite meet up the way they should. And there you go, completed hardware layout. So whenever we go to put the hardware on after all the finish is sprayed down, we won't have to worry about its location. Now the bump stop has to be installed off center. Now the stop itself is centered on the door, but the hole is not. Put the hole towards the front of the door, that way it can be rotated like this and you'll be able to take the door off. You'll see that in the video whenever I install the hardware on the wall. So just center the bump stop on the door, equidistant on either edge, and then I'm going to use a punch to mark me a hole to pre-drill for the screw. And you'll have to do this on both sides of the door. So with all the hardware locations laid out, it's time to put the finish on, and that includes staining and lacquer. The lacquer I'll go over a little more in depth, but if you missed my staining video that I just posted a couple of weeks ago, you can check that out in the description down below, and I'll leave a link in the cards in one of the corners of the screen. Once you have stained your doors, or whatever project you are making, you need to let that stain sit about 24 hours. Just to make sure that it has proper time to cure. The last thing you want to do is rush your finish, quote unquote, because that will screw up how this lacquer, or whatever finish you're putting it on, will affect its curing time and curing ability. You also don't want to mix anything that doesn't go well. So like an oil-based stain, you don't want to put on a water-based finish. You want to try and keep your bases the same. So a water-based stain, water-based finish. We are going to use a solvent-based finish such as lacquer. I've had really good results with lacquer, and I have done a video in the past, and if you haven't seen that video on how I spray my lacquer, you can check that out in the card right up here. Also, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on this particular video on how I mix my lacquers, because I've learned a few things since that video that I just mentioned. So the things that I always get out before I even start mixing. I have a canister right here that's an empty canister of lacquer that I put some thinner in. This is my cleaning bucket. So once I'm done, this thing will get utilized a lot. I also have some lacquer thinner, some retarder. The point of the retarder is to slow down the curing time because humidity levels in my area in Oklahoma are pretty high. Right now they're about 70%, so I'm definitely going to be using some retarder in my mixture. I'll show you how I do that. I also have some PRECAT catalyzed lacquer right here. This is not cab acrylic. That is one thing in my prior video that I made mention of PRECAT lacquer, but it was cab acrylic, and that was an error on the place where I bought that cab acrylic. I asked for PRECAT and that's what they gave me. I had just been starting out doing spraying, so I didn't know any better. Now I do. This is not cab acrylic. This is actual pre-catalyzed lacquer that is mixed at the store. They actually put in an acid that catalyzes the contents of this can that starts a chemical reaction that makes this really hard. Not the hardest, but it makes it harder than a standard lacquer. I also have a pre-catalyzed sealer or a vinyl sealer. This is the thing that I learned the hard way whenever I made my first video. I used a standard sealer. I didn't know any better, and I had to redo a project. The reason why you use a pre-catalyzed sealer or a vinyl sealer is because you're using a pre-catalyzed lacquer. A regular sealer does not have the flexibility that a pre-catalyzed sealer or a vinyl sealer does. So, whenever you have a non-movable sealer underneath a movable lacquer, the wood movement underneath the sealer causes the sealer to crack, therefore also cracking the finish, and you won't notice it by eye because they're really, really tiny fractures. And the only way you will find out is when you go to clean the table off with water, moisture seeps into those cracks and blushing occurs, and you're not going to be able to get it out without taking the finish off and starting over. So that was the lesson I learned the hard way with a walnut table that I made. Always, always, always use a vinyl or PRECAT sealer when you use a PRECAT lacquer. Now there are some people that are going to argue with me that using a sealer is pointless. They use their first coat of lacquer as their sealer. I'm not going to argue with you. If it works, perfect. I have always found a smoother finish being achieved whenever I use a sealer because I can sand sealer a lot easier than I can sand lacquer. Usually I sand my sealer coat one time and the rest of my lacquer coats I hardly ever have to sand unless there are just small parts where my gun didn't quite stay consistent over the entire length of the project. So think about that. It's easier to sand sealer than it is lacquer. So if you want a smooth finish the easier way, you might try using a sealer if you found using just lacquer is a problem. So I always get a lot of questions about how I know how much to mix, because on my videos I said that it's a 1:4 ratio. And if you think about it, the cup that you put on your gun is the same as a cup for a quart size paint or lacquer or whatever that you buy. This is the same as that. Even though this is taller, it's still the same volume. The reason why this is taller is there's some parts that are on the underneath side of the gun that have to take up space inside this cup. So if you fill this up and you pour it in, it's going to be just the right amount for that gun to sit inside without overflow. The way I think about it, lacquer should be mixed in a 1:4 ratio. So if you can divide up this cup into 4 sections, you'll have 1 part thinner and retarder, and then 3 parts lacquer. 1:4 ratio. So just divide up your cup. If you're mixing in your cup that you're putting on your gun, divide it into 4 parts. Put your thinner in, then your lacquer, and then mix it up really good. So you also remember that I said that I use retarder in my mixture. And I've had questions in the past, why not just use retarder for your thinner? And too much retarder will make your finish very brittle, and you'll end up with the same problem with blushing that you did before. Now, a lot of people don't use retarder because in their areas, their humidity levels are very low. And that's fine. You don't have to have retarder. The purpose of the thinner is to flash dry your project. So it dries a lot faster the more thinner you use. However, the more thinner you use, the more it's going to make your finish brittle because you've got less lacquer in there. You need the product and the ratio of the thinner to be a good mixture for the curing process to work properly. So if you use retarder, only use anywhere between 2 and 4 ounces. That's what I'm going to use, is about 3 to 4 ounces, because my humidity level right now is about 79%, so that's pretty dang high. So I need to slow down my drying process in order to keep the moisture from being sealed in the lacquer. I'll go ahead and pour this in. Then I will pour in a little bit of lacquer thinner to about that eyeball mark here on the side. Now with my sealer mixed thoroughly, I'm just going to pour it the rest of the way into the cup, filling it to the top. Now I'm just going to take my quart mixer mate and put it inside. And then mix that thoroughly. So before you pour this in, now that it's thoroughly mixed, there's going to be some debris in here, possibly from your mixer if it didn't get cleaned very good, or just something that was in the sealer or thinner itself. You always need to strain your finish before it goes into your cup. Even though this thing has its own little strainer, this can get clogged, causing problems during your spray, and it will be sputtery, and you just don't want that. So filter it into your cup. Don't let your gun do that work. So because I am spraying PRECAT lacquer, I need a tip that's going to have a little bit more flow potential than a standard general purpose tip. You can use a general purpose tip, which is a 1.3 millimeter, for things like standard lacquers, like nitrocellulose lacquers. But for PRECAT lacquers, I'm going to use something like a 1.8, which will give me better flow, because the more lacquer that you can put on, the smoother the finish is going to be. I always close this off completely, and then I rotate it a half turn, then a full turn, or half and half for 1 full turn total, and then I'll adjust my fan about halfway between open and closed, and that gives me usually the best spray. Now as far as the knob adjustment goes, I might be adjusting this open a little bit more, because 1 full turn may not be enough. I've never had it be too much, so I might have to adjust this a couple of more turns to see what my flow is like. Now when it comes to the spraying technique, nothing has changed. You want to keep your gun at a 90-degree angle to your project, about 6 inches away, and just move in slow passes, or if you have a lot of product coming out, move in a little bit faster pass. I tend to want to move a little bit slower with less product coming out so I can control the flow a lot better and not feel so rushed. So after applying that first coat of sealer, the wood is a little rough, or the finish I should say is a little rough, mainly because this sealer dries really fast. So it's not going to react the same way lacquer does. So this is where your finish gets made or broken. You need to make sure that you sand this really good, and you don't need to sand through the sealer, just knock off the nubs that create the rough feel. The sealer is what's going to be the smooth part that the lacquer is going to sit upon. And if you make your spray of your lacquer really, really nice and consistent, the smoothness of the sealer will make your finish nice.
Now, one thing I like to do after spraying my first coat of sealer is to take the entire tip section apart and clean out any debris that might be there from the fast dry sealer. This might affect how the lacquer is sprayed if this isn't cleaned out properly. So just take you a few extra minutes and take the gun apart and make sure that there is no extra debris that might cause a problem. Now, one thing that I'm going to quickly do is take a brush that comes with my cleaning kit for Fuji, dip it in some thinner, and then I'm going to brush the areas of the tip and the parts that are behind it, but I can't take this apart. If I do, I will release some pressure from the tank that will come shooting out the tip. So without releasing pressure, but still cleaning the parts and the tip, just take a brush and some thinner and that will really help.
So the next time we pick back up on this project, I'm going to be showing you how to install the barn door hardware on the wall above the doorway where this intends to go. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have the hardware installed for this particular set of doors because the client did not want her home filmed, which is fine. But I do have some hardware that I have to install in my own home, so that's where I'm going to do it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, like I said before, please do not forget to click that subscribe button, notification bell. That'll tell you anytime I upload new content. You can check out all of my prior video stuff right over there. And I guess I will talk to you guys on the next video. Boom!